right, Anthony James Hodel, CEO of the Athletic Scholarship Corporation. This is a really cool get together because we ran into each other smoking cigars. You saw me a couple times, right? And it turns out we're teammates from back in middle school. I went to Heights, was going to start as a freshman, and my dad pulled me out of the school district. So I transferred to Brunswick, which was just a culture shock. So, I offered for us to get together and talk because I think we both probably have some good stories, some successes and some failures. As I thought last night more about this, it was like, I wish we had mentors or more information. These kids have a ton of information now.
Yeah.
And it's bad. Like I scroll myself and I don't follow anything negative content. I'm just not a negative energy person. I don't like it. But everything you see on Twitter is a fight. And it's like, holy shit, this is what is being consumed by these kids. And they're not consuming good content. And so when you and I were talking and having cigars over the last several weeks now, it was like, I can't process it, but racism still exists. Violence is always going to exist. And it's cool because when you said to me, like, I thought I recognized you, and then I looked at your eyes and I'm like, this is freaking me out because now I'm in the huddle with you. Like, I literally lost the space for a minute. I went back to that kid in 1987, 88, and we're in the huddle, and I'm like, I remember you were tall, lanky, like you just go throw that shit out there, fade route. And so, introduce yourself. And I'll talk about why I started the recruiting agency in a minute. It was actually hatched at Roxborough when I was a middle school coach, and then I went to Heights. But just give a little background about yourself and, where you started with you and I and where you are today. That'd be awesome.
Well, I'm Amefika Williams in the entertainment industry. They call me Thin C. I started as a kid on some drums, and you couldn't stop me from there. I fell in love with it because he only had to show me one time. And I was amazed that I could do it. And then my dad's standing there amazed too, like, how long you been working with him on this? My brother's like, I just showed him one time and he's doing it. So it started off with drums. Over the years, with my dad been in the entertainment business and managing groups and promoting tours and all kinds of things in entertainment, I was allowed or privileged to have professional musicians around all the time, Grammy Award winning guys. And they would come and just do sessions with me, tutoring me on drums. Then they moved over into keyboards. And then they moved over into...
And you were in high school?
No, this was before high school.
So while we're playing football, you're going home and doing music?
Yes, literally.
And we did track together too.
Yeah, football and track.
You did track, I just threw metal.
Right, but no, we still had a ball as a track team. We still went everywhere together.
We were good.
We had some very talented people on our track team and football team. So, so that's why I brought it up during those times. So this started at 4 years old, but leading up into middle school, I had already been doing national music presentations. Like, I didn't come to school and talk about it much because it had nothing to do with school. But twice a year, I would go to these music conventions and gospel conventions for like 14 days at a time as a musician, as a kid musician. And I'm rocking in front of 20 and 30,000 people. And it was the time of my life. I treated school and sports because I liked it. It was what I was doing and something to do.
Right.
But it didn't go beyond middle school because it was just like the music stuff was there already, And so I had the opportunity to take part in some real cool stuff. And the sports, when we played, I played with my heart. It's just... By that summer, transitioning from middle school to high school, it was big. You know what I mean? Some major people that came into my life, major musicians and all this stuff. And they were just like, yeah, kid, we're going to take you under our wing. And my dad was like, well, that's my baby.
Yeah, I mean, I think I probably would have made the same decision because, you're at two-a-days, you don't have a life, you don't have a social life, you're too exhausted to do anything else. But for me, it was a deterrent of the abuse I went through as a child. And I always say, and we're just talking outside about, to tag in and people about you don't play football because you're normal. And that's not a knock. It's just from a mental health perspective. As a child, I had every abuse, sexual, mental, physical. I mean, there was no safe haven. And the irony, I had racism in my house, but yet I had a Black grandmother that adopted my mom. And she was the best human being to this day on the planet. My wife's great, and there's great people in our path, but there's always people that are just that person that you're like, she's a saint. So I never processed growing up in Cleveland Heights why people, when you're teammates, you're just teammates. We all bleed the same. We're all trying to get the same goal. And then I moved to Brunswick and go, this is nuts. There's not one Black kid. Then a kid does transfer in, and I'm like, maybe we can compete because I'm not a running back. I'm a blocking guy. I'm not an athlete like that.
Create the hole.
Right, that's it. But so then you move this kid in, and he's dealing with it. I'm dealing with it because I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Why are people like this? I mean, they were burning shit in his yard. I mean, we're talking 1990, 88 through 92. People were wilding out. I mean, there wasn't the cameras, there wasn't Ring doorbells. People just did whatever they want and no one could document it. Today you'd get caught.
Yeah.
But so I became close with him and felt bad for him. And then my best friend to this day, he moved from Cleveland to Brunswick too. And we're like, this is a mess over here. So, I mean, going back to music, did it transition like, I think it's the same, like the fraternity, the brotherhood, just the safe haven, right?
When you get to a certain talent status, like a lot of rehearsing. So when you've done all your, self-building, and then you get around peers who are equally talented or more talented, a lot of the attitude in that arena or environment is, oh, wow, he's great. Now, if you come from a great attitude, you're going to say, hey, man, you're great. You got to show me that. You know what I'm saying? You're never looking at it like, he needs nothing. And you know what I mean? And so that part builds a camaraderie around there. And so the equally talented musicians around the city, around the country, they start meeting each other. And you get formulate each other. And then the show off is, hey, I'm about to go play drums for the Backstreet Boys next tour. Hey, I'm about to go play guitar for Prince. Or, hey, you know what I mean? Like everybody's on their gig, you know what I mean? And so now
it's not a big deal to them. Not starstruck.
But it's not a starstruck, it's just a respect. It's like, oh yeah, you just came back from that Michael Jackson gig, that was dope. You know what I mean? Like we're building resumes and giving kudos at the same time.
Right.
You got sectors and pockets of the bull, you know what I mean, and hate and whatever. But for the most part, it's a camaraderie. But at that young age, I never took the chance or the time to take a step back and look at it. It was my life. It was moving fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I would be at our sport practices after school. Yeah, I'm going home. I'm jumping on an instrument and rehearsing it for 2 or 3 hours. Nobody had to tell me though. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so that they married together for me. It was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go play football with school kids, and I'm gonna go home and nestle off into my own workshop and play these instruments to death. You know what I mean? Till my mom yells at me, it's time to go to bed or something. You know what I mean? So, I split it and I enjoyed it. I thought the athletic teams we had in Cleveland at that middle school in particular, now I can't speak for any other place, the camaraderie was special. Dude, we cheered each other on.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like the long distance runner would be over there cheering for the speed runner. We all over there cheering for you guys in the discus and shot put and the high jump. You know what I mean? Like I thought that was like a great experience as a kid because during those times, that's the transition point. You're about to go into your young adult, kind of pre-young adult. If you're jumbled up in the head, now you still got identity crisis going on. Yeah. Instead of just walking into that moment in life and saying, all right, it's time to learn the new stuff and the new people around and blah, blah, blah. So I thought that was real critical for all of us who were a part of that we had that special relationship and as athletes, you know what I'm saying? Like we can go through the school day and give each other high fives just walking by. It didn't have to get serious.
It was a melting pot. Like you had Asians, you had Jewish, you had gay, you had, and it's like, even now as a 52-year-old adult, I'm going, who cares?
Yeah.
Everybody makes a big deal about it. I'm like, I don't care. And it's not a harsh comment. It's just, I don't care. It's been around since the beginning of time. I don't have a right to judge or tell somebody what to do. That's their choice, what they're going to do, right? but we grew up around, Coventry and all that stuff where,
Loved it.
it was just like everything's normal. And then I'm thinking last night, I'm like, these kids today are just dealing with it. I can't even put my hands around what they see and what they process. And I think it's important that, they get good content and positive things, but also hear about it's not easy and you're going to fail. That's just part of the deal. I don't care who you are. Unless you're handed $100 million, you can't really, you can screw it up, but you got to be a real screw up to screw that up.
Right.
But anything I've done was bootstrapped. It was, fake it till you make it when you're younger. You don't know shit. You don't know what you don't know. And you go out there and you make promises and you go to deliver because that's your intent, but you learn a tough lesson during that process. Yeah. And so, fast forward, I play football. I tried the pro route. I play arena. I run around semi-pro, all that stuff. I'm running a big company. I grow it to an apex, huge. 9/11 hits, crashes. I'm now on the cover of Scene. I'm in bankruptcy court. I'm getting shot at. It's all your fault. So I go from being everybody loves me to complete failure. And it kicked my ass for 3 years. I was in a deep depression, woke up in pain. I was like, this is crazy. Shake out of it, right? Did you go through that yourself? I know you were like Bone and we were talking about Nipsey.
Right.
And
so that took place with me following my father's passing in 2011. So I went through a similar journey. It was just, it was more like, I don't know why it was such a traumatic event. Well, I do. It's like this, here's the guy, along with my mom, but here's the guy, he's been my number one cheerleader all my life. I got siblings. They did not distribute the energy to make a jealousy thing go on in between us, but they gave a lot of focus to me because they saw I latched on to certain things and could prove that I was capable of doing it well as a child. So my parents got behind it, and my dad was right there. Like it's like how Mr. Williams did the Serena, the Williams sisters in tennis. My dad was right there with me in music, and it was just like over the years, like this man sacrificed so much. He didn't have to do anything life altering.
It's not cheap either.
No, it's not.
It's not cheap.
Yeah, no, I'm at home. Like, I wouldn't be in the streets. I wouldn't tell nobody what's in my house. I got I'm 12, 13 years old with state-of-the-art keyboards. Like, he didn't buy me Radio Shack. He went to the music store and bought me Poly 61 chord keyboards and all these things. And it was just like, these were the real tools that the real stuff was going on with. And he believed in that. He was just like, look, this is what they're doing in New York and California. You're going to do this here, so when you get there, you already know what's going on. Yeah. But his belief system, he and my mom, they worked together. Like, we were okay financially, praise God. So they were able to put the things together, but the support was just there every single step of the way. Right. And I guess when he passed on, I don't know, a whirlwind went through my mind. Right. I'm like, oh God, people are trying to kill me now. Like, everything was just jumbled up and I went crazy. So that's really the ascension of my life. And so.
Were you in Ohio or were you in?
I was in Los Angeles.
So you were already at your pinnacle?
Yes. Yes. Beautiful home, 8,000 square feet in Calabasas. That's not cheap.
No. Okay. That's not cheap.
No, and I was living it up. But when I came back from the funeral, first of all, I ran from the funeral, kinda. It's like, I came in town to do everything I was supposed to do in the situation. I'm standing, I got my chest out because I can't let my father's people see me as if I'm a weakling. He did invest in my, becoming a man. So I had to show that. Moving forward, it was just like, we ran through the process. After everything was over, I immediately jumped on a plane and flew back to Los Angeles. And the party started. Certain characters were allowed to move in my home. Yeah. We did wild things. And I was just doing whatever I could do to alleviate pain.
You're medicated.
I'm trying to medicate. Yeah. But I'm using
I went through it.
Crazy stuff.
I was in vodka at lunch, going back to work, getting on the phone, and I was closing deals. It was the worst thing that could happen to me. Mm-hmm. It was like, I'm going to call Ford Motor, just cold call them, and everybody's like, you're nuts. And I was bombed, 2 double vodkas on the rocks with a lime, no food, go back. And then all of a sudden I got rewarded and I'm going, oh shit, and I'm 20 some years old, it's the same 2002 around that period. And, I went through that failure of that business, 9/11, and was losing everything. So I'm literally standing at Roxborough looking through the gate. And one of the former coaches that we had was now the AD. He's like, you got to give back. Like, you owe something back here. And I know what the hell he meant. So I went home and thought about it. And it's like, yeah, I took a lot. And he knew, you know, Coach Jarvie, Linton, those guys knew intimately my problems because I got swatted all the time. And that's back when he beat your ass. You know, you just got your ass beat and went back to class. You know, I'm not going to take this beating. Don't call my
ass cheeks.
And then I got worn out all the time, suspended. I mean, I was in trouble a lot. And it was, I don't want to kick this kid off football because that's all he has. I think they knew that, and they were cognizant enough to say there was a lot going on. I mean, I came to school, black eyes, and a lot of shit going on, man.
But not to disrupt you, but to add to what you're saying. Bro, you were dealing with a lot, but you didn't exhibit that amongst your peers in the athletic
I
area.
just saved it for practice.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you did it on the field, but when it came to how we talked and all of us as teammates got along, like, you were a perfect fit. Even though you were dealing with so much, you always
hide
treated
it.
your
As a young man, you hide
peers.
it. And like, I'm working on a book, and that's why I talk about it openly now, because as a young man, it's like, they don't talk about it. You know, they know women go through it, but statistically, 12-year-old boys are the most trafficking human being. And it's like, that's crazy when I saw the statistic, and I'm like, we just don't talk about it. So let's just go play football, get mad, go hit people, and then fast forward where you don't play anymore. You know, I quit at 34, I think 2005, and I just buried into coaching. You know, I was flat broke, and then was just like, I love these kids. They all got issues, and they're attaching to me because they could tell. Like, a kid knows when a coach really cares, or a mentor in music. You know when someone cares about you, and that fuels your life. So I started the company to help kids, specifically in inner city, get out of a situation and use sports to get paid, because the schools are getting paid. So get your money, get your scholarship, get your financial aid, whatever, however we got to figure it out, but you're going to college. Now, fast forward, I think college sometimes is a scam because it's $75,000 a year for an undergrad and you don't get a freaking job. So I thought it was cool. We got together as entrepreneurs because I bootstrapped everything I've done and just grind and study and just learn and listen and pay attention and get advice. And we were talking cigars about technology, and I'm like, that's cool that, you know, I can go sit down a cigar and get a few ideas for somebody that's going through it too. So go back to, you know, you're partying your ass off. Yeah. And so you didn't get stoned. You were doing that for years.
No.
It collapsed quick.
Yeah, it collapsed quick.
So you're still with Bone?
In a year. This kind of like was a period where I kind of withdrew and pulled myself away from things.
Wow.
Because my state of mind wasn't healthy for myself. And then here it is, a group of my friends, my peers, my work peers, and people I grew up with. Their energy, they don't know what's going on. They know I'm hurt from what my loss, because they knew about my relationship with my dad.
Right.
But they probably weren't going to be able to understand, like, all right, is he reacting to that? Or is he just tripping? Is he drunk? You know what I mean? Right. I didn't want to create that type of thing with so much going on over there. And that was a professional realm. No matter how we look at it, guys came from the streets and grew up, blah, blah, blah. That was still a giant professional realm.
Right.
You're talking about $100 million organization. So you couldn't be in there putting things at risk, especially when, for a period of time, I was given the banner of, hey, you're going to be chief production officer of the company for Bone Thugs and Harmony Worldwide and Mo Thugs. So, you know, let's protect the brand.
It's like wearing a jersey.
Yeah, we used to make a joke about it, protect the brand. Right. If you feel like you're going to do something stupid, stay away. Yeah. Protect the brand. So for me, I'm
the
like,
name on the back, it's the name on the front.
Yeah. You can't make a fool out of things. So I'm like, I'm going to just stay in my little cubby hole. And, you know, not that the guys weren't calling or trying to figure out what was going on, but I kind of just blocked myself away. I cut my phone off, like the service, not the power. I cut my service off my phone. Where now I did some bullshit Kanye would do. Yeah, reach through my email.
That should work.
Yeah.
Because I'll check it when I'm ready.
I know
James,
the world. That's right. Yeah. That's right. So it was just like, you know, but a couple of times I woke up with fingers under my nose to see if I was breathing. And, I kind of started thinking to myself, like, well, damn, what does it take to get the fuck off of Earth? And not that I literally wanted to leave, but it just was like, I know I was at least trying to pull some stunts where this might could happen. You know what I mean? So, but my little sister got in touch with me via email. And She said something like, her initial comment, because I cut myself off from family too. And her initial comment was like, Mom hasn't talked to you in close to a year. Nobody's heard from you. What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And I responded back to her something crazy like, hey, my life ain't shit. I ain't shit. Don't worry about me. I'm trying to get out of here. And it took her maybe about 48 hours, but she went through some phone calls or found some contacts. And somebody walked up to me with a phone. Like, hey.
But so everybody around you, outside of you, and I've been through the same time, you're dying inside, but you got the McLaren, the Lamborghini, the house, I've had it, the jewelry, the women, right? You're dying inside, right? But it's so weird because people don't talk about it and they think you're cool, he's doing great. And everybody equates mental health and success by what you possess.
Yeah.
And it's the furthest from the truth.
Yeah.
Being grown men now, when we were in our 20s, hell yeah, I'll do anything for some money, right? Money, more money.
Yeah.
And you get older and you start to appreciate relationships, time, integrity, just having freedom mentally to take a break and not be chained to something like work. And, and you're at a period now, you're debating if you want to go back to the industry, right? You're doing logistics now, right?
I have a logistics company now. We've been in the freight game for about 12 years.
Wow.
But leading up to that, I got pulled out of California. I packed a suitcase and left.
Walked away from
everything.
Assets.
I had to. Because it became life or death. I'm now doing shit where I don't care. Oh, there's a power coat, there's a bunch of syrup. Let's put everything in a bowl and grab a handful and do what you do. And then let's empty these bottles of alcohol over here. You know what I mean? Like, it was pretty bad. So my sister made some threats. I didn't want to go deal with it. And I got on a plane the next day and didn't come back. We had homes here in Ohio. And at my sister and her husband's house, they put me up. And I was there for almost a year and didn't come out of there. Like,
did you work
going through it, nothing. I wasn't capable to deal with public.
Wow.
Depression had kicked my ass. You know what I mean? And so after about 9-10 months, and the cure was the kids in my family. Like, me and my siblings have a total of like 14 kids. And they know I take them all as my own. Like,
sure.
Anytime, all 14 will be there, and we're going to have a party, we're going to do our thing. And so they just kept them rotating around me. And the kids, they really didn't know what was going on. They just saw a dark uncle. Like, uncle's not okay right now, but we're still going to bring them pancakes. We're still going to wake them up in the morning like, hey, what you doing? Let's go out in the yard and play basketball. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that type of stuff over a period of time, with my own kids involved too, brought me out of it, at least to where I was like, all right, I'm going to go up into the city, because the house is in Great Falls. And I was like, I'm going to go up in the city and see my mom and do that. And I did that. And that kind of started breaking the mold of things. My brother was like, hey, well, the glitz and glamour is over for now.
Yeah.
And then this is work again. Yeah. He was like, we've spent tons of money taking care of you, buddy. You got to get a job. Yeah. And I'm looking at him like, I don't know what a job is. I'm not playing stupid, but I'm 40 years old now.
Right.
And someone's telling me, yeah, you got to get your first real job. First real job. You got to make enough to, and this is what we're going to do. So they had a plan. They had talked about it, but they brought it in softly. They didn't just come at me like, oh, you got to do this and do this. It was like, no, let's start thinking and idealizing what you might be interested in doing, man. We got to get you out here. We got to normalize things.
How many times did you look in the mirror and go, who the hell am I? And I got to shake this. Because I've had that conversation, which sounds completely psychotic, but it's not. I mean, I literally went through a lot of arrests, a lot of fights, a lot of trouble, anabolic steroids, craziness. I went through a period of absolute freaking insanity, trying to hold on to that football career. And, I don't drink anymore. I don't, there's events that led to that. I got an accident and I went home to my wife and said, we should be dead or somebody else should be dead. And it wasn't like nobody goes and drinks intentionally and gets in an accident. You're just drinking, having a good time. You're at a wedding, you didn't eat, and you're drunk, right? So we're upside down in a brand new truck, total. Took the highway out, closed it down. And it was like, I'm really arrogant if I think I can continue to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And that's like an eye-opener, just like looking in the mirror and going, I got to get out of this funk I'm in, because it just sucks the life out of you. It sucks your ability, your finances. I mean, you just don't want to do anything, right?
Yeah.
So I guess what's your best advice? I know you went through it later in life. I went through it a long period. I didn't kick it until I went to intense counseling.
Okay.
I got in trouble for a fight. I ran into a court mandated counselor. Basically, they dropped it, said, you're going to go do these things and have a nice life. And she sat with me and said, you got to stop what you're doing. And this is literally my 40s. I had this conversation with a lady. And she said, I know your whole file since a child. It's all there in the legal system.
Yeah.
You should be a serial killer or a rapist. You should be something very monster. Give yourself a break. And I walked out of that day like I never looked at it that way. That I didn't pick my pain, but it's got to go. It's got to be let go.
You recognize it, and now you got to.
But it's unfortunate that you got to be in your 40s and get in fights. And I worked in nightclubs because I wanted to fight. I've been in hood neighborhoods just for fun because I knew someone was going to mess with me, because it's like when you're doing crazy white boy in the neighborhood and they want to fight, it's like, I'm ready to fight. I came down here for a fight. And it's asinine. It really is. And it's just trying to put your hands around talking to a younger kid that's in high school, especially today, and they're going through a lot of shit, and they see this crap on the internet. They see the fake stuff. Everybody's doing great, and that's not the truth. That's just a highlight film of their life. Working with celebrities and producing and being around Nipsey and all these guys. There's times they're broke. They're fighting to stay alive. They're trying to get their career off. I mean, let's talk about that for a minute, because I think that's crucial for a kid to hear the hard stuff, because everybody lies. The internet's a freaking lie. Right? Facebook, all this is like, life is great.
I think
the hell it's not. It's hard.
Yeah, someone made a mandate of just showing the beautiful part for footage sake.
For the highlights.
Yeah, for highlight reel or for just, bragging rights. But there's nobody at the top of anything that didn't take a complete journey.
Right.
Ass kicking, stress, struggle, trying to educate yourself, grow mentally at the same time. None of it came with ease. A lot of people get past that and say, I don't want to go through that or think about that ever again.
Right.
So they don't mind the beauty kind of like coming in, like it being what hits the camera and what hits the public, because there was so much involved. But like with my guys, Bone Thugs and Harmony, we were young guys. Their level of determination is impeccable. It was just there. They wanted to get away from whatever they were dealing with as kids or whatever that life was as kids. I wasn't around that part. But like when we all did come together, these were guys who were just determined to meet success by the way of doing music, because it was what they loved. Right. It was what they had as their art. They took it very serious, and it got them somewhere. They chased down some people they were looking for, such as Easy. There was a big journey involved in that part. There wasn't just a walk room, hey, there's Easy, hey, there's Bone, let's do. No, there was.
They're hardcore business guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked security. We were talking about that when they came back. It was probably 8-10 years ago, or no, probably longer than that. At Masonic, they came back.
Yeah.
And Mark was the head of the security team. And I'm back there, and we go out after and shut a club down, and I'm drinking with them, and we're talking, and I'm like, these guys are really, I hung out with Wish all night because he just seemed to be his energy was so laid back.
These were things that were learned. That business acumen was learned over time.
Probably some failures.
Yeah, well, the failures.
Lessons.
Yes, but thank God, a lot of those things also came by witness. So we saw people make certain decisions and
I'm not gonna do that. Yeah.
We ain't doing that shit. You see what I'm saying? And then some things were forced. Oh, so the record company's being a little slow about our money. We got bills. Hey, let's go do some shows. Yeah. And then doing a bunch of shows, you're just gonna, hey, we just made $1 million fucking bucks.
We don't need to pay somebody else.
Let's go keep doing the shows. You know what I'm saying? The record company gonna pay us, but we ain't gonna beat down their door now talking about our bills. We can go make them $5 million a year just doing concerts.
So it's not as glorious as everybody thinks. Especially back then.
At an early phase, no.
You get basically front money, and they'll, I don't know if you watch that documentary, Lou Pearlman. You ever watch that?
I didn't see
How he milked the Backstreet Boys and He built another
That's
one.
whose name it is. Yeah, look,
It's
yeah.
on Netflix, and he built another like boy band and took all their money, and everybody's like, "Oh, they're celebrities; they're just loaded. Life's easy." It's like, no, they signed a deal with the devil.
Yeah. And this guy created a system
I mean, did he?
to steal from people.
Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. The
People
system.
have to fight to get out of those deals. So it's not all the glitz and glamour.
It's not from a business standpoint. But see, in that industry, when you get to a certain level, man, you got to learn how to utilize your tools. You may have a bad deal, but if you've reached a certain accolade or a certain level, you got to use that to you got to pivot into some things to allow you to sustain until you get through that battle. And that's what Bone was excellent at.
Yeah.
Oh, we tripping over here with business? Okay, well, let's put the lawyers on that and give our input, but we're going to go over here and get this money doing this. We're going to do this movie stuff. We're going to do this world tour stuff. We're going to do this, you know what I'm saying? Like, they kept the pivot going because, hey, once you get away from the hood, ain't no going back, like if you can prevent it at all costs, okay?
You can come and visit.
Yeah.
Right.
You're gonna come back, you might build some houses and help some people out and visit and all that, but no, to live after all that,
No.
after getting to the top of the mountain, go back, no, that was unacceptable. So they always had a working mechanism to say, hey, we're the group, we got a revolving door system. Somebody might go through some problems. Let them go deal with their problems, but they're never, ever considered kicked out of the group. They're always going to be able to come back home.
Right.
So they built a system and a camaraderie and an ecosystem where amongst the 5 principles, they could do what they do. If you were a close asset to the 5 principles, then you understood what your point of loyalty was. Hey, this might be my best friend, member number 1, but I'm going to treat member 3, 4, and 5 like my brothers as well, because we're going to have a system of respect and a protocol where, hey, my man might be up in this hotel room. One of the other guys might be sitting over here. Hey, what's up, man? You good? You need anything, bro? Yeah. Okay, cool. Keeping it moving. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's it just came together in such a massive way that you couldn't even see the hard times when they were there, because we stuck together. We went and did what was required to get to the next place, next phase. You know what I'm saying? And it was a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Like, there was a time where VH1 and MTV were like, this is the most touring band in hip hop, because we were doing hundreds of shows a year. Yeah, man.
That's crazy.
That went on. And that was almost for like a decade straight. We were there's not a house of blues on earth or a venue on earth Bone probably ain't did that seats over 1,000 people enough. There's probably not one they ever done.
I mean, kids today know who they are. They're still relevant. I mean, obviously, when they came back and did that show, I think it was 5,000 capacity on Masai.
And that was decade number 2. We're in decade number 3 now.
Right.
So that means there's one generation who started with us and 2 generations of the kids behind them familiar with us because of that cult following.
Right.
And we respect that.
Right.
Now, because here's the beauty of it all. You ain't never heard about a rape case, assault case.
Yeah, they never got into that East-West, any of that. It was just,
None of
we're
that.
from Cleveland, this is what we do.
This is what we do. You wanna compare us to the Bills? We're gonna show you.
Yeah.
And this organization gonna run that way. Is it perfect? No.
Right.
But are we gonna get caught with any asinine BS? No, because we all got kids.
Right.
What do we look like catching rape charges and assault, sexual assault charges and all this? And we got daughters. So it's not allowed.
Right.
Anybody came anything near that, you got to boo.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing with that.
I would assume that music's just like sports, like, looking back when we played and, I continued on, there was just no race. I mean, the media divides people worse than ever today. It's bad.
It's media driven.
Right.
It's media
It's
driven.
taught. It's taught. So music, it's just not there. We're just all professionals, right?
Yeah. Like we ran into Elton John out in Las Vegas, right? Turned into little
white gay guy. Okay.
We turned into little kids. That's Elton fucking John. If you don't get out of here, come here, Elton. We doing pictures, we getting hugs, whatever. Like it was the biggest respect. Nobody, all right, your life and sexuality, all that. Okay, fine. You're not in my face with it. You're not over here trying to get at me. I'm looking at your accolades as what you produced and put in front of the community. You know what I mean? What you've given the public as an art. You can't touch that shit. It's Elton fucking John. So it's white, black, whatever, man. It's a respect for people's work ethic, people's contributions, and so we don't walk that path of, whatever we choose for ourselves is what we choose for ourselves. We're not judging up with nobody else. too many hands have been shaken.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like over all these years, there was always a VIP section. There was always a fan section where fans could buy an extra ticket and come see and take pictures and all this stuff, get autographs. That's been going on for so long, man. You know what I mean? People have been touched.
Yeah.
You see? So who are we to judge? Like, that's not how we look at it.
Right.
Hey, you came here to see us. We ain't from you. You ain't have to buy that fucking $60 ticket.
Right.
But you here. And then you went and bought another ticket to come see us behind stage. Like, high five, what's up, baby?
Extra,
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you got to respect that. Because what is that doing? I think that's feeding kids. I think that's putting kids through college. I think that's got
generational wealth.
Fucking BMWs, Mercedes, and everything else in these driveways.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't respect that.
Yeah.
You know? So
are you going back to music, or what's your...
I'm teetering going back. All of the kids in our family got to experience what that was from my life. I have a little girl now, and she hasn't seen, she knows her cousins go in studios and record. She knows we are music affiliated and all of that. But she hasn't gotten to really grasp what it is she truly comes from when it comes to music, including like my dad's legacy, my legacy, her cousins.
Yeah.
Like I'm a descendant of Muddy Waters, okay, the blues singer. So she's just not getting to the point. She's 7 now. So now it's time for her to start learning it. Now, if I got to go back on stage to give her the full experience of this is what you come from, I'm going to do that. But right now, it's all about, all right, you got a drum set over there, you got a keyboard over there, you got a guitar over there. What you gonna do with those?
Yeah.
It ain't a pressure thing. It's, are you gonna turn them into toys and learn them and have some fun? But those are all yours. Let's see what you do. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, a lot of athletes are, it's crazy. They're pro, they're making big money, but they're aspiring artists. So they're correlated so heavily. That's why I was like, we definitely got to talk about it, just the life experience. And, you know, when you go back and you lost all that money, I went through the same thing. Did you truly miss it?
I didn't. My support system, my family, were okay. They helped me at least where, even in my wallowing, even in my not going outside, I was still in a beautiful home.
Right.
And we ate great every day.
Right.
And so the comfort level was still there. For me, getting past this dark, super dark space I was in mentally, that took over everything.
Yeah.
I had to find a way out of there. I'm watching these beautiful kids all around me run like nothing has ever happened. And I'm like, damn, I gotta pull through.
Yeah.
If not for me, I gotta pull through for them.
Yeah.
So money didn't come across my mind until my brother was like, hey, all your money's gone. We've been fucking footing your bills.
Yeah, I've had people go, it must suck because, the Hummers and the Escalade and all that. I'm like,
I got my life.
It was just more shit to take care of, to be honest. I mean, my monthly nut was crazy money. Talking 50 grand.
I believe it.
Just to live. That's freaking stupid.
Yeah, my home alone was $17,500 a month.
You got a landscaper, a cook, a nanny.
I'm not including them in the $17,000. Mortgage was $17,000.
I know. I think California, it would be like 25 right now.
Yeah. See,
so I mean, that's crazy money, and it's just, you're young, and you just, and look at these kids now in sports and probably even music. They're throwing money, especially in sports, that name, image, likeness. They're throwing big money. There's kids from inner city Cleveland that are getting handed millions. So they go from the hood to rich, and they're the man or the woman. They're just running the roost. They're running around college doing whatever the hell they want. And that's the problem with sports. And I don't know if it did the same in music. The reason why I had a troublesome 20s and 30s was I was never accountable. I was always given some Band-Aid because I had issues and he needs football. So I never got taken away from that. I should have been suspended. Grades weren't good. I got in trouble. I got in a fight. I mean, I've got suspended so many times for fighting, but yet I'm playing. And so I was never punished. So when you go to in your adult life, you're like, I do whatever I want. I've been doing whatever I want. And I think that's the problem today is, what the kids see, and, they got police officers now. I think, go back to that day, and I'm, police officer, I've been arrested several times. I've probably been juvie. But, these kids are throwing money and there's nobody there helping manage it. I've seen parents spend their kids' money.
That happens all the time.
on their lifestyle, especially in music.
Yeah.
And actors.
Mhm.
How many of them are broke because they're family?
Yeah, because they start so young and
That's
got
crazy.
mommy juror and daddy juror. Their parents are managing.
Daddy juror,
Yeah, that's they call it.
Yeah.
Mommy juror and daddy juror.
They bleed them dry.
Yeah,
And then there's
mismanagement, financial mismanagement. I got friends who have dealt with that, and they're not better, but because they were able, like when they got into their adulthood, they used their art and their business knowledge to get themselves over the hump and back into a great financial existence. But leading up over their childhood phase, money got spent. Mom and dad looked pretty nice. And so
So you didn't invest any, I didn't. I mean, I did some stocks and some moves I thought were solid, and turns out stocks is just like crypto. It's all a game. But going differently, if you had your hands on that success and money at your age today, what would you do different? Like, what would you tell your younger self to do?
throw as much of it into working things as possible. Put the money to work. And try not to formulate the attitude it's never going to stop.
Yeah, I thought.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is one of the easiest diseases to catch.
Yeah.
When it's
100%.
flowing, that is never going to stop flowing.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody runs. If you look at it technically, the athletes, musicians, actors, anybody that go broke well before their time, it's because they got caught by that disease.
Yeah.
Oh, this shit ain't never stopping.
Yeah, I didn't think of it.
Yeah. It's
Technology, I'm on my game. I'm just everything I'm swinging at, I'm hitting, and making 100,000 take home a week. I wasn't to the scale of those guys, but making $1 million a year, you're not broke.
Yeah.
But you are broke when you're spending 50 a month.
Yeah. But see, my dad was smart, and he spit certain things and putting certain knowledge in front of me. My family, we were into buying bullion, gold, and Troy silver, and all this type of stuff. So we were accumulating that. It was kind of a thing where you never touch it. So if you get 40 years of accumulating that type of stuff, you got some safes that got some stuff in it that'll protect you from a lineage and a legacy standpoint.
Right.
Like, I'm not supposed to do it. But if shit really hit the fan, I gotta go.
Yeah, gold, you can go
dial a number in and go trade some shit in.
Not like crypto.
Save the day. But see, crypto as well. Crypto is something you gotta know.
If it's Bitcoin,
what you're doing.
Everything else is
right. So now, due to new legislation and stuff like that, you got a small pool now. They're called ISO 202s. So Bitcoin and those guys, which is only 10 of them, altogether. Those are your kind of safe havens because the ISO 202 is a form of compliance, where these particular cryptos were allowed to build this compliance systematically, where they'll be able to carry on 100 years into the future.
Right.
Can't say that about no other crypto.
Right.
So yeah, the meme coin. If you catch a meme coin the right way,
you could catch it in an hour.
You're filthy.
Right.
But if you don't know what to do,
you got to be the first one to take it.
Yeah,
you got to be the raker. I'm actually in that space, and it's hostile. I'm like, what am I doing? This is like degenerate gambling. I got into it. We developed a coin. I'm still active, but it's like I've got to steal from my own team as a dev. I can't do it because ethically I'm not going to. It's going to come back to you. Karma is a bitch. It's true. And you don't learn that till you're older, that what you put out, you're going to get it back. And you're going to get it at the time you don't need it.
That's right.
When you're down and out at your worst point, you're going to get kicked in the nuts. Yeah, you're going to get it. And you're going to be like, damn, shit ain't going right for me. Well, you haven't been doing right. And then there's days that I hand homeless person money and it's like, am I giving them drug money? No. It's just what you put out there, but that crypto stuff is wild.
It is.
Like you have to build it and steal from others before they steal from you.
When you're working from that organic standpoint, I got introduced to Bitcoin through a platform called iBillionaire. I was already messing them from a stock standpoint. But in like 2015 or 16, they were like, we're offering this new thing, Bitcoin. And I was like, well, I'm on the platform iBillionaire. Maybe they're trying to get me there. So I dumped into that and forgot I did it. So other platforms come.
You forgot?
Yeah, I forgot it was there. Because I'm traveling,
Yeah.
still, I'm out on the road, I'm trucking, I was trying to be smart and just do little tucking points. Like, okay, I got $30,000 came in over the last 6 months. That's just, dormant cash. Let me shove that somewhere so I don't, blow it away. So I'm trying to move differently, right? From learning lessons. So I forget about it. And then these other platforms start coming out where it's a little more user friendly. See, for them, you had to send them the money, or the money was attached to the bank account, and they would withdraw the cash and make the Bitcoin transaction for you.
They were traders.
They were holding it. I didn't know anything about custody and self-custody and blah, blah, blah. They were holding it. Okay, whatever. Cool, because they were holding stocks for me too. All right, whatever. But then these other platforms started coming up, Cash App and these guys and all this, where you could just buy Bitcoin and sell all this. And so I'm buying bunches of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin over time took these giant jumps.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the numbers, like I wake up one morning, like, it was 10,000 yesterday. Why is this shit 28,000 right now?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm cashing this shit out.
Yeah.
Hey kids, we're going to Disney.
Yeah.
You know what I
Now
mean?
you're like, oh shit.
I did it like 4 or 5
I have
times.
a friend that has like 20 coins. He's had it since like same period of 2015 or
Yeah.
11, and he's worth a couple million just off of that. He's still letting it ride. But
I didn't let it ride.
because
When they would send me the monthly reports,
it's
I'm like,
unknown. Like they say, a bird in the hand is,
That's right. That's
I mean,
right.
it's you just don't know, and it's easy to call it and play it after it's developed.
Mhm.
Like I've traded stuff off that if I would have held it, I would have done okay with it.
Mhm.
Then I got, I was in that Robin Hood crap where Elon Musk was pumping and dumping Doge,
Mhm.
and I'm trying to trade out and it's locked. And it was like $7,000 profit, but it's still $7,000.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, sell it and I can't, it's locked. I'm like, this is a scheme.
Yeah. So Robinhood,
They paid a
the
penalty.
scheme.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they paid
they're
a
the
penalty,
scheme.
but we got screwed as consumers.
Right. Now, so had you used platforms like Gemini, Coinbase, Kraken?
See, but Doge at that time was only on Robinhood.
There was on a couple others. They just weren't
Wasn't on
promoting
Coinbase.
it.
Yeah.
It wasn't on Coinbase.
Yeah.
No,
Because
but
I
they
had
were.
Coinbase and
It
that.
was definitely on Gemini though.
Yeah, I think I made like $200 when I was able to trade it.
You were supposed to make $7,000, but
All right, I was mad.
Yeah,
I was like,
but
this is
see,
scheming.
I took long education series to understand all of that. And so in that period of time, I learned what platforms I would never buy Bitcoin on, Robinhood being one of them.
Because it's not your wallet.
It's
You don't
not-
control it.
You
Yeah.
have no custody. And then, but what they did, when they saw you were going to make a lot of money, they locked you out
Yeah.
on purpose.
Everybody.
They put that in their algorithm. I would never use them. You're supposed to be there for me to make money. And here it is, when I get the opportunity to make the money, you freeze me
Yeah,
out.
they stole billions and only paid 25
Yeah.
million in a penalty.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll take that deal.
Yeah.
Right?
But see, all of that got implemented when the GameStop thing took place.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
The Reddit run on GameStop and all that. So I learned a valuable lesson. Now, a lot of people went through a lot of different things, like the billionaires were trying to sick lawyers and change laws and get these people arrested.
Yeah.
These people didn't trick nobody. These people all got together and made a decision.
Right.
And that decision profited them masterfully.
Right.
So you lost some money, and now you want to make it against the law. So now because you lost some money, you want the people who won some
Right.
money, you want to make them
They're gonna
criminals?
craft it to their benefit.
Like when I started seeing all these behavior patterns with all the stuff, I'm like, oh God, you got to conduct a certain way. They're not going to let you just become a billionaire anymore, bro.
Right.
And I learned that. I'm just like, no, well then, okay, then I'm going to move like this. I'm going to move like this. I'm only going to deal with 2 to 3 trusted institutions or sites that are going to allow me to do this. The banks themselves, your own well-suited banks, I guess, were early crypto behavior. They were against you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They were freezing accounts, zeroing out accounts. Like, oh,
You ever try to draw a lot of money out and they sit you down in a meeting and ask you
Yeah.
why? And I'm like, it's none of your business.
Yeah.
Why? What are you, my mother? My mother's dead.
yeah, but
Right.
guess what? The Patriot Act started changing the banking
And it
laws.
wasn't really for,
No, it had nothing to do with
it had
money.
everything to do with
Yeah.
knowing what you're doing.
See, here's it. When you look at a title of something, that title ain't got nothing to do with you as the consumer.
No.
It has to do
Never.
with people who's fucking running things.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So when the Patriot Act comes in, and then the banks falter and they get saved to the tune of what, 800 billion? What was that back then? That immediately changed the rules. The White House said, hey, we ain't never doing that again. Next time you lose your shirt, it's on you. But however, we'll give you the right to change legislation in your favor. So they immediately changed all the legislation saying, no matter what bank you're at, in the United States, if a person puts their money in that bank, it's the bank's money.
Yeah.
That's a law that changed.
Yeah.
That's a rule that changed. Yeah. So now what used to be yours, when you put it into the institution, it belongs to the institution. You have right over it.
Yeah.
You can spend it.
I mean, like you just said, we're a click away from losing everything.
There you go. Because you went to check out a large amount of your own money, and they had the nerve to ask you in a room setting, what are you going to do with your money?
I lost it.
You had to.
I was angry back then too. Like I lose it quickly. And I was like, what are you effing asking me for? What do you, and they were basically like, we're going to call the police. I said, no, you're not. You're going to give effing money.
Yeah.
So as a matter of fact, take it all out now.
Yeah.
Closing the account. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But every bank has the right to do that now. Yeah. It's law.
Yeah. And if, it hits the fan, we have a technology problem or get hacked.
Yeah.
Good luck trying to prove what money you had in your account.
See what I'm saying? So
I swear I had it. Here's a screenshot.
Right. Yeah. So I just was studying a bunch of guys who were not only teaching trading habits, but teaching safety habits to install in your trading behavior. And I just started going by that. I haven't had any snafus. I only use a couple of specific hot wallets and a cold wallet, but I'm not afraid of crypto because I learned, first of all, don't dive at any little crypto. Don't believe in anybody's white paper.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
So yeah, I do the cold wall, hot wall too with the ledgers. There's some cool stuff, but you got to make sure you have your ledger.
Yes, sir.
And or the code number that people write and put in their drawer. Like But yeah, it's the new way for sure.
You got to know it. You got to be a part of it if you're going to be financially healthy.
I mean, there's some celebrities and artists and athletes are like, pay me in crypto.
Yeah, and they're smart.
Yeah.
They're smart. Now, crypto's going to do its thing. Crypto now has been accepted and adopted by governments, and they're trying to bring it to the masses.
There's a crypto ATM, 55th and Woodland.
Yep, they're everywhere. Understand is on the road to mass adoption for that financial technology. There are going to be disruptors. BlackRock is a disruptor.
Oh, 100%.
Because now they want to come in and do manipulation practices.
That's why Bitcoin's down.
That's why Bitcoin's down. They're doing experiments to see.
And they're going to buy some more and do it again.
They're buying it right now.
You just got to know when and ride with them.
Yeah, but see, they'll buy they'll buy off market, which means it won't affect the price. But then they'll do something to try and affect the price. They're experimenting with it, to see how far they can take this thing.
Billions of dollars.
Right, before they let it go. Because Bitcoin's going to be $1 million per coin one day.
Yeah,
it will. But they got to do all the experimentations now that they're involved, and so we got to deal with that as retail. We got to deal with that, and you got to sit back sometimes and watch. Like, all right. I know I was up, but instead of looking at what's up and what's down, I'm looking at my percentages. I'm not touching the Bitcoin. That's the one in particular. As I accumulated, I'm not going to touch it. I've ruined so much Bitcoin. That's not, if I want to look at a regret in life, that might be my only regret because I'd be a multi-millionaire right now off of Bitcoin alone.
I blew so much.
You see what I'm saying?
I blew so much money.
Yeah, so it's like,
it's disgusting how much money was blown on bullshit.
Yeah. I
was talking to my friend, we talk every day, and that's like, how much money did you blow on this? Just this part of your addiction or behavior, and it's like 4 or 5 million.
Yeah.
Like you gave me 4 or 5 million right now, it's going to work.
Yeah, you know what to do.
Yeah, not 7 cars, a house. And it's unfortunate because we'll sit here and been through it, done it. I spent more time protecting my assets when I was making the money than I was making the money. Because that's a whole nother conversation. The legalities, people see you have something, you almost want to be quiet. I had a business mentor who's a billionaire, and he's like, you got to stop what you're doing. You're just too arrogant. You're out there too much. You're here in Cleveland. Cleveland doesn't like you winning. And it's weird because now, looking back, I've been to Columbus, Cincinnati. You see Lambos, you see people, and everybody goes about their business. I lived in Chicago. Everybody's got money. LA, they got money. You're in Cleveland, and you're driving a Lambo or something. It's like you're a dope boy, you're this or somebody, or you got that. I'm going to figure out how to sue you. It's just wild here.
The money here is old and quiet. And I learned that.
Yep.
Every now and then, I'm pepper pipe. You'll see a Bentley with an old couple riding top down. What you do is if you ride out there past enough open garages, you see everybody has one.
Yeah.
It just don't pull them shits out.
Yeah.
So the money's there. It's just a different behavior with the money. For me, it's a thing where now I gotta do. I'm 51 years old now. I have to be in protection mechanism mode all the time because it's like a lot of people don't understand. This is what I would say to the athletes and musicians who would see, financial success. You have to, like you were just getting ready to say, building on what you were saying, you have to now become a money manager, an asset manager.
You let somebody else do it, they're going to break you blind.
They're going to blow your pockets out.
Yeah.
You have to become that person. Like understand, there's no such thing as a super mega millionaire or billionaire who doesn't have something called a home office.
Right.
That home office means they're equipped to manage every dollar moving through anything they got dollars in. That's why it's called a home office.
Something
they may have
Tim Duncan didn't do.
Yeah.
The guys are getting fleeced for $25 million. I'm going, how does that happen?
No,
not paying attention.
See, you're raggedy. Like, it's just certain things we weren't taught.
Right.
Now, I learned this through meeting and experience now. Yeah, there has to be a home office.
Right.
Like, who's that one accountant that can be accountable for everything going on around everything else with your money? So there's spearhead things that come from the home office, and it creates an entire control mechanism where see, people don't understand. Thousandaires count dollars. Millionaires count change. Billionaires count their pennies.
Right. Yeah, true.
You think it's the other around.
It's like he's a billionaire because he's cheap.
He knows where every penny is.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But that's critical in building wealth or maintaining wealth. So when you athletes who might get that $20 million check, well, obviously it ain't $20 million when you get it because the IRS and management,
you got the tax in every jurisdiction.
Yeah, all that stuff. You lucky you walk away with $7 million.
Yeah.
But you can't have formulated in your mind, I got $20 million to blow. Because the $7 million is gone if you do that.
Because your family comes by, your friends.
Everything. You're going to buy that.
When I went broke, I couldn't even get money for gas. I was literally stranded in Little Italy, calling my family, going, hey, can you pay me back that 13 grand I loaned you that you've been avoiding me for fucking 13 years? And it's like, I don't have any. It's like, come on, man. Like, seriously?
Right.
I opened up my checkbook at any time was family, and I don't regret that to this day. But it's like when I call you and say, I got nothing and I'm waiting to get paid. Yeah. I've been through it, man. Yeah. And it's like, you really know who your friends are.
Yeah. We bumped the earth, man. And we just got to take those moments, if we survive them, and learn from them. Bumping the earth ain't the shit.
Yeah.
Because you're probably in a nice car with no gas in it.
BMW.
You see what I'm saying?
You gotta get good gas.
You're right. See?
Yeah, dude. I put the card in though I had $1. I've done that scheme.
You know.
I got fill this bitch up, and I'm gonna ride for a week, and I better close the deal. Yeah, and it had to be a BP.
Yeah.
BP or Chinese.
Yeah, but see now they're smart.
No.
The machine.
Now they run 50. Yeah. I ain't got 50. I gotta go inside.
Let me get $1 worth of gas.
I've been there. I've done it numerous times where I put it in. It authorized that buck, and I'm filling this tank up, and I'm driving to Cincinnati to do business.
That's what we call running it up.
And literally, if I don't do this deal, I don't know how I'm getting back home. Mm-hmm. I mean, and it's like Damon John says, the power of broke. That's true as hell.
A lot of people don't understand, like even in the music industry, they say, well, if this person's broke, how are they doing such and such? What you don't understand is the machine is designed to get the act in and out of wherever it's got to go to do whatever that work it was hired to do is.
Right.
So your transportation to the airport, paid for. Your plane ticket and travel, paid for. Your hotel, paid for. Your trip to the venue to do sound check and eat dinner, paid for. Everything, every move you make is paid for.
They got to grasp everything you're doing.
Yeah, but you're inside of $1 million cycle. You can have nothing in your pocket.
Right.
But you can stand on the stage like Beyonce and do the fucking shit because the machine is moving you around. And then in the end, you'll get your money for how they had you moving around. But if you ain't got that, you looking for sound check, like, hey, what time is sound check? Oh, yeah, what they cooking at the venue? Oh, steak and, okay, let's go early. You know what I mean? Like, they don't know what you're going through, you know what I mean? But
they want you captive like that.
They do kind of, you know what I'm saying? But the smart ones don't let themselves go that far. But there are instances, Well,
you got athletes managing their own brand, their own self now. Mm-hmm. You got musicians doing it too. Mm-hmm. I mean, and, there's guys on YouTube and, just rappers from Canada, I've seen him. It's like, man, this guy's got, I'm kind of torn on clicks and currency.
Mhm.
You know, you could have 1 million people and not make money, but it's just how do you monetize it and, you know, as an athlete or a musician, but
I think LeBron James had a
Should write a
very
book.
smart
should
system.
write a book.
Yeah, it was a very smart system. My most trusted and dearest friends were going to talk. And he did this along the journey. It ain't, I got here and then did this.
Sorry, in high school.
Along the journey, like, these are my guys. Hey, well, I got a little bit of money here. How about you go to school for this? I got a little bit of money here. How about you go to school for this?
Yeah.
So now one of his best friends is an accountant. Now the other one is his agent. Now the other one is his lawyer.
Yeah.
So he's got a team of insulation that protects him where no wonder
Yeah,
why.
but you got to build them and groom them. You can't just bring them in because they're friends.
No,
You built them into that team.
Right. Well, over time, it was like, you know, you search for interest. You look like you're a good fit to be the agent, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's the biggest agent in the world. He wrote a book. Read the book. Tell me what you think. You see what I'm saying? Like, there are ways to, you know, massage the muscle,
Right.
but to have the opportunity to take that particular group of people, like, so I'm not saying it has to be the exact structure, but like, you might have siblings that you guys have a great relationship and you can trust the shit out of them. You guys have spent a certain amount of years of your lives protecting each other. There's nothing wrong with building that into your institution to say, hey, we're going to be insulated and protect each other.
You know, a lot of people say don't hire friends and family.
No, it's the other way around. Because you go into a Jewish community, and I'm not racist whatsoever. We Cleveland Heights, okay?
Right.
Born and raised in the middle of all of it.
Stop telling.
You find me a Jew that's in business that ain't working with another Jew.
100%. They're like wolves. They're in packs.
They know
They
each
take
other.
care of each other.
There you go.
100%.
And that
That's why
success
they're
has taken
successful.
them to a global. They built the biggest hospital in the world down in the street.
Dominant.
You see what I'm saying? They're dominating everything because of that. The rumor is, though, oh, but don't work with family and friends. You fall for that bullshit? Oh, you dummy.
Yeah.
That's why you're getting robbed blind. Because the motherfucker you're hiring ain't a family or a friend. They ain't got no guilt there, no conscience about
You're
robbing.
just a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So it's a lot of misnomers around that we got to, you know, do away with people, with athletes and whoever that's reaching statuses of success. First and foremost, please don't let your ego take you outside of intelligence to where you're not getting these mass amounts of money and understanding who's after it. Give the IRS what they're supposed to have, but sit back and understand what you have and small things to do to protect it.
Right.
Because everybody's going to come with the best idea in the world
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I just
about
need a
how to
little bit.
spend your
I
money.
just need a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's not going right, they don't have any skin in the game.
You know, skin in the game. They was really doing it just to pad their pockets a little bit. You see what I'm saying? Like, because they're going to report a loss. They're not, you know, but they got that new Mercedes. You know what I mean? Whatever it was, it's going to be misappropriated. You know what I mean? So people got to be aware of that. Like, these things happen. It's real life. It's been going on forever now.
Yeah.
Like, when are you going to stop and see? Like, it's got to
But
stop.
that's the scary thing. It's like the internet, social media, the wrong message, and then you're giving kids out of high school
Mhm.
$5, $6, $7 million. And I'm like, if you gave me that money,
See, but that's knowing what we know now.
I would have blown it up to 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, we could sit here and do these things and great content and, you know, somebody's going to digest this. One person looks at it and says, hey, I'm going to go ahead and take this advice.
Mhm.
It's done its job. That's why people have content.
Mhm.
But I didn't have that. I didn't have the mentor.
None of us did. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. We didn't have access to this.
Mhm.
You know, I got thrown into it. You know, I went and did business because I had to survive.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm going to start in automotive and just work my way up.
Yeah.
I mean, I lied my way into my first management job. I told a billionaire that I was a manager in another place. And he goes, great, come on over. And I go and I get the job and I go, oh shit, I don't know how to use a computer. I don't know how to print anything. And I got customers get ready. I told him I was a finance manager in another dealership. I wasn't.
Oh, shit.
And I got hired and I fucking figured it out.
Mhm.
You sat there and said, okay, I got to figure it out. It's go time. And
Yeah.
that's what athletes do,
Yeah.
performers do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I got the opportunity at a young age, 19, and I ran with it and I never looked back.
Mhm.
And I just don't know. I don't know a lot of people that have that.
Mhm.
And I think that's what makes someone, the titan or disruptor is you're not born knowing this stuff. You could study. I mean, like, what's your, we're getting ready to close up here anyway. And like, what's your favorite book? What's the last book you read that you love? I'm sure you read.
Yeah, I read. It's an old book. And it just intrigued me. And it was called Finding a Third Eye. And it's a book that starts enlightening you and educating you on the power of vibration, colors. Like, everything is a vibration. It's just a number to that vibration. Matter is a vibration. This table vibrates at a certain number to make it hard and sit here at this color. You see what I'm saying? Like, so I started reading a book teaching about that. And it's really based on understanding the building of knowing what your pituitary gland was put in your body for, the pituitary back here. And that's why they call it a third eye. So it's a book that's teaching you about the realms that this eye operates in, or the knowledge based around those realms. So when you start understanding that stuff, certain breathing, like, your body's designed to breathe from your through your abdomen. And if you breathe properly, it exercises your organs. Yeah. Where you never have organ disease or issues. But because we are lazy and breathing from our stomach instead of our chest, we're not pulling those organs up, exercising. But it's all the normal breathing that's supposed to take place. So it's a pretty deep book, and it taught me so much, and I attribute it to some of my health factors. You know what I mean? Thank God I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have no sugar problems. I don't have cholesterol issues. Like, I get my blood tested regularly. My doctors call me boring. And I was proud of that.
Yeah, you're not
boring, man.
You're not equitable. It's like, get them out of here.
We can get you a pill or a shot. Like, what are you here for? Like, I'm 50 now. You know what I mean? I gotta come here. You know what I mean? Like, man, there's nothing. Get out of here. You know what I mean? And so I attribute understanding certain things from that book to how I just incorporated. And that's one thing I got from my dad. My dad was a book guy. Yeah. You know, you didn't know something? Hey, come on. We're about to take a trip to the library. We're going to find the book.
So now you got the internet.
You see what I'm saying? Now you got the internet.
AI, you might get the wrong information. But
yeah. But see, I took that organic pattern of things, and now I'm doing it with my little children, my daughter. Hey, honey, come on, we're going to the library. And she loves it. And so I do that with her because I'm going to institute her a hard, organic manner of, resolution for figuring things out. Yeah. Let's go get a book and see. Books are amazing. Let's go inside of them and see what we can learn. You know what I mean? So, like my oldest daughter, I don't give myself much of the credit. I have to give her mom a great amount of the credit. Her mom read to her every day. And when I had her, I would read to her. But she became a book lover. So now there's not a movie room. My daughter won't go read the book to see if it's worth going to see the movie. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like, she's read all these damn Harry Potter books. I mean, AI is going to change all that. It is, and I think it's scary. It is, but I tell people, AI is not anything to fear or to try to understand. Just understand how to use it and incorporate it. It's a tool. Because while you're trying to understand it, it's over here now. Yeah. It's getting faster every damn 9 months. Every day. I use it every day. And it's like just what it's doing yesterday, it's better today. And it's a tool where I don't need a copywriter. I don't need, it's like, why reinvent the wheel? If it could write a good script or an outline or a good email, I'm going to use it. Yeah. Because, if you had somebody that could do it, you would hire them to do it. It's the same thing, but it's free. But I think, people are going to leverage on it too much. And, even in music, like, it's threatening. Change. Yeah. It's threatening a lot of stuff. Timberland is one of those spearheads. Timberland, the producer, is one of the spearheads of teetering with the technology to see what it's doing. We have another. He was the hook guy forever. Yeah. If you wanted some track or something. But now he's mind-blowing about AI's capability, and he's doing live sessions like, no, wait, you don't understand, because for everybody named him, and these other super producers, and he's like, no, you don't understand, we got a problem. And they're like, what do you mean? He'll sit there in his thing and be like, make me a beat that is Justin Timberlake-esque with a little bit of Beyonce and and then 5 seconds later, this shit started to play. Yeah. And he was looking in the screen like, how fast can you do
That's
that?
just
And now the other producer's like,
that's $1 million
shit.
he used to make off of that.
Yeah, like we got a fucking problem.
Yeah.
You know, so now you got to get in front of this, and this thing is here. Don't worry about, oh God, don't get stuck there. Like, it's here. So you better jump and do some reading, pull up the shit on your computer screen,
You gotta
take
pivot.
a break from the
You gotta
studio,
pivot
you gotta
again.
pivot.
Yeah.
Go get some knowledge and information to help you with the pivot and get the next tool in front of this thing so you can take it with you to the next phase and get money. If not, if you get jumbled up at any point, it's leaving you behind.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what people gotta understand. It's not to be feared. It's here. It ain't going nowhere.
Right.
Get to know it and use it. You know what I mean? You have to, just like
We
you
use it in
said.
our business, and you call and you can set an appointment and links with Calendly. It goes through the whole process. You call your bank.
Mhm.
Now they're starting to go, what's your account number? You think you're talking to human. You're not.
You're not.
And it's
They're
pulling that
recognizing your
data.
voice.
Yeah.
AI knows your voice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like the other day, this guy, he had a good product on Instagram, right? So I sent him a message, he responds. I'm having a conversation with him, and it took me like 2 or 3 minutes
It's
to
AI.
realize I'm
AI.
talking to fucking AI.
Yeah. It's genius. Yeah. There's a genius category.
I'm
You
pretty
can put everything
smart.
you want.
I'm pretty smart, Odell. It took me a couple of minutes to realize I'm having a conversation with AI. It was that realistic.
So I had an onboarding call with our AI developer, our company that services our phone systems and answers our calls. And I realized halfway through it, I was on an onboarding call with an AI agent that they deployed to take my call. It sounded human. Just the tone and the empathy and the path he took down was qualifying questions, closing. I was like, I'm dealing with a human. And then I realized halfway through it, holy shit, they're using this to do their calls. I was like, I'm done. I'll take it.
Yeah.
So, and now instead of spending $78,000 a month, I'm spending $250 a month. And it's being handled the same way every time. Is it right for the consumer? Everybody that calls? No. There's people that are pissed, hate it. I don't want to use it. Okay. I got to carve you out. It's a new era.
It's a new era.
You know, all the kids that are going to Case Western, International, anybody with some money, they're going, it's just convenient. I got what I needed quick. People don't want to talk to each other anymore.
Yeah.
They truly don't.
They want to keep moving fast. Right through whatever process.
I want the instant microwave. I want it right now.
Yeah. I mean, just like, if you think about it, the speed of a phone's transition over time, we didn't even notice it. It just sped up and sped
It's
up.
a mega server.
Yeah.
You know, when we were in high school, that's a mega server now.
Yeah.
Our computers weren't even that good in storage.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. They were not. But it's like I said, it sped up. The process got easier and quicker, but the speed was there. Now, I've been a bit guilty of it because there were a couple times where my phone paused or held up or something like that.
You're mad.
And I kept myself getting an attitude like, hey, what is this thing doing?
Yeah.
And then I paused for a second, like, wait, hold up. No, this is technology. I can't believe I just fell for that. It moved slow for a minute. You know, I can't act like I don't have patience when I come from the time where this didn't exist.
Yeah.
Now, for the kids, such as my kids, my little ones, who this is what they know, this is all they know, oh boy, we're going to have a time in the future.
Yeah.
They're built for it. That's the thing we have to actually consider. My kids grew up with tablets in their hands. And then it turned to cell phones when they got old enough. I didn't give them phones right away. I refused.
Yeah,
But like,
social media and the weirdos out there.
but they at least got their tablets so they can do the educational games and boom, I'm calling out FaceTime my kids on their tablets when they're little. Hey, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I'm building the communication, aspect of things with them. But they're starting with this shit at 2 and 3 years old.
Yeah.
We had rotary phones. And we didn't even touch the rotary phones until we were 9 and 10.
Those are awesome.
See what I'm saying?
The cord that choked you.
Yeah. But then when we got into cordless phones, we thought technology was doing something. Ooh, cordless, yeah. That piece of shit was nothing compared to what was coming.
Big ass antenna you pulling out.
So it was nothing compared to what was coming, but it was there, and that's what we adapted to. But now these kids have all this fast moving stuff. So that means at some point, the human brain is going to be able to deal with that in a faster capacity.
The problem is, like in my business, helping kids get recruited, it's hurting them because they think I have a social media profile, I'm gonna send a little tweet or tag a coach, and it's not even the coach.
Mm-hmm.
It's somebody in public relations or marketing or compliance or a graduate assistant, just probably the same thing in music.
Mm-hmm.
If you're following an account and you have a track, you have something you want to get in somebody's hands, it's not going to get in their hands. It's not really that artist
Right.
per se. I mean, it's probably the same way. And
Yes, there are buffers.
there's gatekeepers on
Yeah,
everything.
you're not going to get direct unless you live in these places and you're working and interacting in these places.
So it's still about human interactions.
Yeah, so when I was so it still exists, right? Your delivery mechanism might be a little different or technologically advanced, but it's still a relationship that's going to be something around the gatekeeper,
Yeah.
right? So if I'm living in Los Angeles and I'm repeatedly working with, let's say Interscope, a few artists at Interscope, at some point I'm bumping directly into Jimmy Iovine.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm bumping into his head of publishing.
And say, I got this,
blah, blah,
I'll send
blah.
it to you.
Now I'm a familiar face to these guys.
Right.
And I can say, hey, Jimmy, I got some badass shit you got to hear.
Yeah.
Jimmy's going to say, hey, well, give it to such and such, and they'll get it right to me. So there's still a little buffer zone where it's not a direct handoff, but at least I know that person he told me to give it to is that person that's working with him
It's the
every day.
right person.
See what I'm saying? Yeah. So I may send it via email, zip
Yeah,
file.
if you're smart, you CC the man and say, hey,
See what I'm
thank you
saying?
for creating the bridge of communication with X, Y, Z. Yeah. It's the same in
All
recruiting
that
in
works,
sports.
but when you make those human contacts,
You have
you get the actual information to, like you said, get past the gatekeepers. Other than that, if it's just an all digital interaction, you don't know who you sending shit to.
No,
You know what I mean?
it's the same in college, the
Yeah.
business of college sports, because that's why kids go out to camps. That's why musicians do small venues. They start with small venues. They work for free
Mhm.
or lose money, taking a gig. And it's the same in sports. You got to go out and do camps. You got to do showcases. You got to do the grind to stand out. But then you have to harbor that relationship. And normally it's a 3-4 year burn.
Mhm.
You do it when you're a freshman or sophomore. You don't wait till you're a senior and go, oh God, I think I want to play here.
Mhm.
Because now these coaches, or same in the music business, I've been talking to this guy for 3 years.
Mhm.
Are you better? Maybe, but you're so close. But I know this person intimately. I know everything about them now that I got to run with them.
Mhm.
And I don't think technology is ever going to replace that. That's just
It's
human
not.
psychology.
It's not going to replace that humanality. That's what I call it. I don't even know if that's a word, but it can't replace that. But we also got to understand clear and precise communication. Technology is fast and it's trying to replace that relationship, right? So when we do have the opportunity to encounter those relationships, you literally have to know how to take advantage of that little piece of time and communicate
And
clearly.
you have to be able to speak clearly. That
You
is
have to.
that is a direct correlation of perceived intelligence.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can be the brightest guy, but if you can't verbally
You just wasted
get
that
in the
moment.
water. Yeah, people are like,
Because we're now moving.
Yeah.
We may have human interaction, but we're now moving constantly. So that quick moment, you got to be
You
clear
blew
about
it.
what your objective is and blah, blah, blah.
they
Or
call it elevator pitch for a
Yeah,
reason.
exactly.
Yeah.
The elevator pitch got to be clear and concise. And if you could do that, which I suggest athletes, artists, whatever you are, at a young stage, hey, turn on the camera and practice interviewing. Practice clearly
I've been saying that
communicating.
forever.
Yeah,
Like
it's got to be a
you've
part
got to
of
be
the
able
practice.
to, without arrogance, effectively demonstrate what you bring to the table.
Mhm.
What are you going to do for that program, for that coach? I mean, because that's what people want. How do you solve my pain point? Tell me how.
Mhm.
And a lot of kids don't know how to do that.
And this is critical. When you don't know how to do that, you literally are a walking billboard that says, I only have a physical talent, but I am wide open to be taken advantage of because I am not competent enough to know any business aspect of anything.
I had a client that was 2-time Mr. Ohio quarterback.
Mhm.
He was that mentor.
Mhm.
Tall, everything, had all the gaudy numbers. I had Nordonia High School hire me to represent their athletes, and I placed a quarterback ahead of the one that they were recruiting. So Bowling Green pulled this kid from Mentor and said, we're not going to offer you anymore. We're taking off the table.
Mhm.
The coach at the time was a recruiting coordinator, met with me. We had a personal relationship. He's now the Wisconsin head coach.
Mhm.
And he was like, man, I miss this. I see what you see. Go out, watch the game, get around the kid. He has that aura.
Mhm.
And that's so crucial, especially at the quarterback position.
Mhm.
So the dad of this athlete calls me and says, this company you got, I heard about it, it's a snake oil, and he's all pissed off, right? So he meets me for coffee in Cleveland Heights, and we sit down, and he's like, how the hell does this kid get the scholarship now and my kid's bumped off? And I said, I've been around your kid and he doesn't know how to verbalize. He's just not a guy, with all due respect, that I'm in the huddle that I'm going to run through a brick wall for. And that's something that you can't teach.
That's right.
That's why he didn't get offers. And the guy was dumbfounded. He didn't even know what I was saying to him. But it all translates to today, 8 years later. Verbal communication, how you carry yourself, your aura, you got to where you went, I've got to where I went because of that. 100%. It's just like dating, you could be a not attractive guy and still have the baddest girl in the room.
Yeah.
Because you got a mouthpiece.
You got a mouthpiece,
right.
And you got something to your aura,
right.
that can be fun for her. Grab onto, good energy.
Because I know a lot of good looking dudes are bodybuilders, dumb as box rocks. Girls aren't messing with them, right? You might mess with them for a moment, but not going to hang with them.
I mean, that was the strength of the relationship I had with the guys. We came up in two parts of the city. Now, they were from the Glenville area. My family had business in the Glenville area. So I was always down in the Glenville area activity-wise, right. With churches and events and stuff like that. So, but later on, with a little time in high school, come about after high school, my relationship with those guys just simply lasted because they literally saw, hey, this guy ain't scared to tell the truth. He ain't scared to take the blame for shit.
Right.
And he never really gonna backstab us. I don't come from that. I didn't want that.
Right.
If I'm building this thing, now we don't know where it's going, but we see the everyday energy of everybody. Nobody had to be told to come to work. Right. This was our own thing. We worked our asses off. Nobody had to tell us. Right. So when you were part of something like that, you're like, no, I don't never want to betray this because this might, you don't have people who think like that, but you have to be a person of integrity because you'll stay part of the core of whatever that thing is moving forward. And that's how I ended up being a part of the core. It was just like, hey, I'm going to protect you before I betray you. Right. You know what I mean? And I made it clear with my actions. I didn't have to go around saying that.
Well, you could do it once. You could hit a lick and betray everybody. You'll never be able to go back. So you're in a position now, if you choose to, you could go back. 100%. You pick up the phone, make some calls, do some work and do it again.
Yeah. I mean, we just, everything after high school, when we started, I won't say right after high school, but once the touring kind of went and became normalized, you quickly learned that the world is vast and you're going to encounter so many different types of personality traits, right?
90% not good.
90% not good. Right. Your institution is called Bone Thugs and Harmony. Yeah. You're a godfather then by Eazy-E, the creator of gangster rap. Right. The fan base is the fan base.
People are not getting shot for fun for no reason. This is not like theatrics. They really
So the
they always say conspiracies. Is like, no, these guys really are killing each other.
Yeah, it's real shit. Yeah. But they want to come to a concert too. So it's like sometimes now no one's coming to the concert to incite violence, but it's still the element of that lifestyle in that world that's at that concert. So you do gotta have some boldness to deal with these people. Yeah. Because if they can pull it fast when they get backstage, they're not going. They want to get a picture with their favorite rap artist and an autograph. But if they got to trick security or whatever to do it.
I mean, when I worked it, everybody was their cousin. I said, of course you're their cousin.
Everybody was
trying to literally throw people back into the crowd. I'm like, this is crazy. Everybody is like screaming and crawling about it. This is wild.
But imagine a Mexican person coming up to you saying that, or you know what I'm saying?
I actually probably would let them go through. I'd probably like, that's pretty good.
Right.
But
it was my cousin to go.
Yeah, when you're broke, everybody avoids you when you're broke. Like you want to be left alone, be broke.
Yeah.
And once you got some money, everybody, like I could do no wrong. And then when I was broke, it was like, he's done. Throw him out. And you learn that you only have if you have a few close friends, you're good. You only need a few people,
I personally left society alone in that period. I didn't go out. Like I said, I stayed in that house.
I mean, I shut down too.
A straight year.
I had a nice place, and I went to cigar lounge, smoked three.
See, I wasn't smoking cigars.
I was smoking the hell out. But then I couldn't afford shit because I was paying $2,000 a month, $2,500 a month on
cigars. Yeah.
And I was only making $4.
So
after I pay all my business bills, I don't have that much money left. $4,000 ain't shit.
You're going to get a cigar though.
Yeah, but I got that cigar, right? Yeah, I figured it out.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to, man. But me, I stayed away from everything because my responses weren't politically correct. Somebody might be having a good time. Something negative is going to come out of my mouth. And to prevent from spoiling people's environments or good times, I stayed away until I got a grasp of things mentally. And like I said, started going back into the workforce. I only did, before I transitioned and started another business, for instance, my family has had a upper management working relationship with the Target Corporation for 30 years now, right? So that was a phone call. Hey, we need somebody to come and, get hired, meet them at the door, take them through the process, blah, blah, blah. So it wasn't a bunch of bullshit to do that. So I went and did stock there in the back room for a minute.
That's fun.
I think that's one of the first things I did.
Yeah.
With the mindset I was coming out of, it was something that kept me busy and cute little chicks running around doing the same thing. And I'm like, all right, I can deal with this. I ain't really got to talk to these girls. I can just enjoy the view and just do what my job objective was. Go stock this area. Go stock
You
this
take
area.
a break from everything.
It wasn't business hours. So after business hours, we're doing this shit. So I'm not doing anything I've ever done before.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, whatever. But then I had a small collapse. I kept going, but so I was 3 weeks in to get the first paycheck. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is 3 weeks of working. I ain't counting no numbers.
I got no
nothing,
money.
bro.
Yeah.
I ain't counting nothing. I'm like, this is 3 weeks of working. This ought to be a nice check.
Yeah.
Man, I get that check. And I'm in total disbelief. Taxes, child support, $1,200 my ass. That shit was like $600 or $700.
Oh my God.
I went to my
$200 a
brother.
week.
Man, look, I went to my brother's house and cussed everybody out. You motherfuckers expect me to do this shit for a living? Like, who does this? What type of world is this? When people working only make this type
So
of
you
money?
started your own business again?
Well, no, I didn't. My brother was like, listen, you had to pay some taxes and your child support.
Child support.
You got hit. And he was like, it ain't gonna be like that. But they hit you on some, whatever they did, they took a little more than normal.
Yeah.
And so he was like, man, but stick with it. This ain't about the money. We're gonna still float you, but you gotta get into that acclimation of going somewhere every day and working.
Yeah.
He said, that's what Target is for. Target wasn't to make you no money. Target wasn't to make you rich. Target was to get you used to getting up and being somewhere on time to do something that you were instructed to do. You're 40 years old. You've never done that before in your life. And I'm like,
I don't want to do it now.
yeah, but I'm trying to be the big little brother. This is my older brother telling me this. And he's well to do. Like, this guy's an engineer for the phone company. He's been there 20 years. Like, he's fine. So he has my back. He's like, man, don't worry. I'm just about to go buy you a car and get you together, man. But you got to do this. And I'm sitting there, and my sister's there, and his wife's there, he's been married to the whole time. So she's a deep family member, and they're all coaching me like, it's a part of it, bro. We're crawling. We got to get you, because if you don't go through this phase, you can go somewhere and make $1 million, but it ain't gonna last long because you ain't got no respect for what you're supposed to be doing on the clock.
Yeah.
So I went through that phase. Then I heard NES was paying big bonuses, and I was like, well, let's give NES a try. The debt collector service. I get to, put a button up on, wear some nice clothes. Let's go do that for a while. Got there, went through the training phase. Women everywhere. So that was cool. My brother bought me a Lexus, so I'm pulling up in the new Lexus. I'm like, all right, me have some decent type shit. We can have some fun with this. And it was fun. Going in there, didn't miss a lick. The top guys, there was a couple people there who knew who I was. And so the whispering started going around like, hey, that's a guy from Bone. That's a guy from Bone. That's a guy from Bone. And I get a little embarrassed because I'm like, damn. But then another brother that knew who I was, and he knew a lot of people from our organization here, he was just like, yeah, but he chilling. You know what I mean? Let him do his thing. So kind of like everybody kind of like normalized, like, all right, well, he's here. He's just working whatever he's dealing with to do this, whatever. But there was this couple there that was making bank. So I went to them like, what are you doing? they started telling me little stuff like, you got to do this and you got to go after these accounts.
Yeah, because you get commission.
Yeah, so that's how you get into the big bonus structure. Did it. Then months later, something changed. Obama changed some law in that world, and boom, all those bonuses went away. So now we're back to just regular hour people. And I saw the first check after that change was like, thanks, guys. It's been nice.
I got to go again.
I got to go. I was out of there. And so I'm chilling at the house and nothing's going on. And thank God I was smart enough. Like I didn't get into smoking weed. I had walked away from that for a while and I wasn't doing anything. Now I was doing a little sipping because I'd hang with my brother. We have some beers and, stuff like that in his man cave. But then my sister calls me out of the blue one day like, you remember Uncle Dan had a very successful trucking company? And I'm like, that motherfucker did have some semi-trucks. Whatever happened with that shit? She's like, well, he retired and sold the business. But like, she pointed out how my cousin, who was my uncle's son, my uncle he did something to make a little bit of money. My uncle took a little bit of his money and put it in the trucking business. And long story short, when he sold the business, my little nephew, who was now probably 17 at the time, he had to give him 90 grand from the business because of his little investment and contribution into it. And I was like, I started thinking about this, and then my sister was like, I'm gonna send you a link to some information on trucking. She sends it to me. First thing I see in the link, a $1.3 trillion a year business. I said, you gotta be kidding. There's no way I can't go in this and make a few million. It's trillions of dollars floating around. I can't go make a couple million out of this. So that was the energy. 72 hours later, I was on a Greyhound bus going 400 miles away to truck driving school, and never looked back from there. That's how I got into logistics. Yeah, and I told myself, nope, if I'm gonna really do it, I got to start from the very bottom. That was done on purpose. I could have called my uncle and be like, hey, give me some contacts and notes.
It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. No. I went to the core, like, no, I'm going to go to truck driving school. I'm going on the road, blah, blah, blah. I even went through the phase of being a truck driving instructor.
I mean, I worked with, Ganley, the kid that owns 70-some stores now. His dad could have handed him $100 million and said, here, go F it off.
Yeah.
He made him wash cars. I mean, he had a shitty job. I had a better job than he did. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you're old and you understand that was the way to do it. You got to understand every aspect because then you respect that process.
I got that from the Sam Walton story.
Yep.
He did that to his kids.
It's a good book.
Yeah. You better go out there and move some cow shit around before you come up in his office. Yeah. Okay? Go
some entitlement.
Yeah. Nope. So it was a valuable lesson. I ran with it, and it didn't take long because I wasn't messing around. Like truck driving school, you're supposed to have like a 30-day period to do it. Man, I was out of that shit in 10 days on the road.
So now you have other people driving, and
so what we did. So it was. I still, like I said, I built from the ground up. So I went. My truck driving school was attached to a trucking company where that was like, well, if you get your CDL, we guarantee you to work.
Right.
The beauty of it was they got me the CDL, and then not just throwing me on a truck, they put me with an experienced driver, and we did over-the-road training. I did that for like 90 days. Yeah. So that was ultra valuable. And this guy, I don't know if all of them were like that, but this guy was thorough as shit. I mean, everything, and he was smart. He said, guess what? You're not going to like this, but we're about to drive every mountain system in America. The most beautiful truck driving lesson you can get.
Yeah.
The scariest shit on earth, but after those mountains, what is there to challenge you? You see what I'm saying?
New York.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Trying to get on and off. Yeah.
Literally, and we did New York one time, and it was just in and out. But we did those mountain systems. So, boom, I'm fully educated on how to handle the truck in the worst conditions, mountains, snowstorms, chaining up, whatever. So we went through that. After that phase, I became an instructor because I had a certain amount of time I had promised or contractually promised that company I would stick around. So for the remainder of my time, I took on students and showed them driving around the country. After that, when that time up, immediately when I was already doing my research, but immediately when that time was up, I went to a company down south called John Christner Trucking, where they were like a truck owner-operator college.
Yeah.
Where you can come buy your truck, but they're going to teach you the ins and outs of the accounting, the fueling business, and blah, blah, blah. So I went and got that education. But at the same time, that's where I bought my first truck. You see what I'm saying? So I got my first two trucks through them. You know what I mean?
And those aren't cheap.
No, because
in the maintenance, insurance.
My first one was used.
Yeah.
But the next one was like the latest, greatest thing they had put out. So that was full Monty. Truck pricing back then wasn't horrible though.
Yeah.
You know, it was later on when truck pricing doubled and just got crazy as hell.
They get crazy now.
Yeah, it's crazy as shit now. A truck that was like, a truck you can get brand new for $100,000 is now over $200,000.
That's crazy. But yet the per mile you get is less.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't follow each other.
The inflation system in there is all out of whack.
It's so squeezed and
It's
competitive.
all out of whack.
Yeah.
And this is how treacherous that business is. Anybody that sees any loophole or failure, they're going to take full advantage of it. So
Yeah.
we had new people come into America the legal way, those guys. But in their country, hey, go be a truck driver in America and make a lot of money. They took that rumor, came over here, got everything in place, and became a truck driver. Guess what they weren't taught? How to battle for rates.
Mhm.
So what us American drivers were going to getting $3 for, these guys would do for $1.
They changed the economics.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now and they're coming over in droves
It's not even
now.
worth taking half the work
You
anymore.
can't. So, but we're looking at them like, you don't even know how to talk to them like, hey, bro,
Yeah.
tell them to give you more money. You're killing the game.
Yeah.
We were getting $3
We had the
for
same
that.
thing in the car business.
Yeah.
Guys selling stuff for losers. It's like, why?
Yeah,
Why do you go into
doing it?
business to lose?
Yeah. So, but when we look at the economical structure of other countries and compared to
Oh,
us,
this is paradise.
that dollar a mile,
Yeah.
that might as well be $1 million.
But it's not.
It's not for
They don't
us.
know that yet.
Right.
Yeah.
It takes them a few years, but the way they're coming over in droves and over time, it's now becoming a problem. Because the guys who did it 5 years ago, they might understand the American economy now,
Yeah,
but the
no.
guys that came
There's a
yesterday,
new breed.
they still don't understand it. So now the industry is still flushed with these guys who don't know better.
Yeah.
And they're coming in, so they're buying trucks. So they're getting gouged on that, you know what I'm saying? And now they're taking freight for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing.
Yeah. I don't mind to own Panther.
Okay.
And we worked with this kid for recruiting, and he was telling me how he started in his garage and grind.
Mhm.
You know, he's worth hundreds and hundreds. I mean, probably $1 billion at this point because he still owns some shares.
Okay.
But you always meet with those people and you hear how they started, and it's like, you know, it's the ground floor up, and you know, it's interesting. I mean, I appreciate you coming in, man.
Yeah. I
And
appreciate
we
being
go on
here.
for hours and hours, you know, and a lot of it's boring to the everyday people. But
Mhm.
when you go through hard stuff, you know, there's a lot to share.
Yeah, but I hope the young people take away from it, you know, again, consistency, hard work, both mentally and physically, you got to do it. You know, it seems like the way social media is making all this stuff look, these kids are just going from zero to hero.
No.
They're not. But to control what's in between, work your butt off.
Yep.
You got to do the hard work. If you commit to the hard work with your head down, by the time you lift your head up, you're going to be one of these kids fresh out of high school, getting $1 million endorsement deals because of your talent has gotten you there.
But you also have to protect your image and brand too.
Yeah.
Because that school is putting, you know, money on the line. That's why they call it name, image, likeness.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Because now they're putting their chips on the table,
Mm-hmm.
which is booster money, you know, sponsors, endowment money, wherever they get their money.
Mm-hmm.
They're expecting you to change the face of the program, the success of the program.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of stress for a young kid.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I couldn't imagine it. You know, you're still 18 years old.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't care if you're 6'8". It doesn't matter. You're still 18 years
yeah.
old.
That's just the size of your body. You know, keep control of your emotions and your feelings. Don't be crash out artists. That's the easiest way out of sports.
Yeah. And
Don't crash out on anything or anybody. It's not necessary. Protect yourself at all times, but crashing out is stupid. If you want to crash out on something, crash out on loading up on reading, studying, fortifying yourself with all the things you need so when success comes,
you're prepared.
you can be prepared and control it. The problem now is nobody's able to control success. It's controlling them. That's why in the end they have nothing.
Yeah, I used to come home and say, I don't own this house or these cars, it owns me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had chest pains and the stress, just the keeping up. And you're so far into it, you can't get out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's an addiction. And then you realize, I don't own this shit. I don't have the title in my hand. I don't own it.
See what I'm saying? That's
And then
what's
you want
got.
to act like you're rich, you're really not.
Mhm.
You're paper rich.
You got rich things.
Right. You're not liquid. And that's back to the Jewish people.
Yeah.
My boss was worth $1 billion, did not know it. You look at him, he had torn jeans and wearing loafers with no socks and driving a Chrysler Concorde. I'm like, dude, what are you driving that car for? You're worth $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
You're in Forbes magazine personally in the 80s. I know you got some coin.
You don't want no attention.
That was his advice. You'll learn one day and you're gonna stop. Because now no one will mess with you. They think you're broke. So when people call and borrow money, I'm sorry, man. God, I'm going through a rough time. People leave you alone. I'm going through a rough time. They don't want to hear it.
That's right.
They don't want your.
They don't want you asking them.
Right. But if you say, man, we're busy, we're rocking and rolling, you're putting stuff on the internet like it's all gravy, you're going to have females. You're going to have everybody hitting you with family members, everybody.
Yeah. I'm moving different these days. I'm working my way back to whatever the substantial value should be for me and controlling everything I got going on or creating a comfort.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be comfortable. I'm just creating a comfort for thought's sake. Complacency is a killer. But yeah, I mean, I'm just staying busy and getting to it, man. And whatever I got to do, whatever it takes, to get into the next realm of where I'm going. Logistics has been great. If they keep messing with it, though, I'm going to transition.
It's going to be self-driving trucks.
But that,
Amazon.
but all of it together.
Right.
Amazon is a big deal.
They're going to piggyback.
Self-driving truck is a big deal.
Right.
Legislature to control, like no one's controlling these brokers from doing all the gouging they doing. A broker is technically getting these packages for $5 a mile.
Right.
They're only offering you $1. Now, how fair is that?
The brokers make the money.
The brokers
without
make the money.
any risk.
They sitting at some desk just like this with a computer.
I've seen them, out of a warehouse, just sitting there.
Worth $1 million in 6-7 months.
Drinking coffee all day. Cracking it.
Yeah.
Because it's marketing.
The hard work is being done by somebody else.
Right.
You see, and that part ain't fair. So until legislation comes that'll kind of help control that mechanism of things, it's getting weird. I'm going to probably start a brokerage. Hey, can't beat them.
I'll work the phone.
You got to join them.
Yeah, I can get that there tomorrow. Yeah, no problem. Then you got to find somebody. Oh shit, I got to find somebody to get this roll out. That's how it works.
Yeah, but
I've seen it.
you find old Loki out there doing it for 97 cents a mile, and you build it at $5.
I appreciate it, man. That's crazy. Like, I just still looking back, like when you said something and we reconnected, I was like, man, it's crazy how sports, it's the same music like we talked about. It's just like you could be away from something and then it just the memories and then I always try to tell student athletes and even their parents, it's like, these are the best years that you can get so much out of this sport. And it's not even about, scoring or being the best, or it's a safe haven. It really is. If you work it the right way. Yeah. And, it's not sitting online all day playing on the Xbox or whatever these kids like to do. I'm like, I'd rather be out and still and have an interaction with humans, and we just don't do that. And sports, music, you have to, and I appreciate it. We're going to end this thing.
College sports is a big business, a multi-billion-dollar business. So how do high school athletes get noticed by college coaches? At Athletic Scholarship Corporation, we provide nationwide recruiting services and get scholarship offers for our clients.